Online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy. Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I guess the way we debate policy issues these days is through memes. We've gone from Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero to Russ Vought, OMB director, as the Reaper. That was not endorsed by Blue Oyster Cult, just a point of order there. Still arguing about whether or not the left wants money for health coverage for illegal immigrants. Well, they do. Maybe not health insurance formally, as we've discussed with C.S. Tucker and others, but they get health care, and that's still a real cost to the American taxpayer. By the way, just as a reminder, on that debate stage, 2016, much less 2020, 2016, when there were a good 10 Democrat socialist candidates running for president, you may recall. And every single one of them raised their hand and said, yes, I would support coverage for illegal immigrants. Kamala Harris as the nominee, at least when she was a senator from California and before she was the nominee last year, supported that. Elizabeth Warren, when she ran for president in 2020, supported that. And now she bristles at the notion that that's their actual underlying position.
The Republicans, there is no change in the number of undocumented immigrants who get any help under what the Democrats want. Look, Senator, what we're looking for is help for people who are going to get pushed out of nursing homes, help for people who are at home and relying on home health aides.
Yeah, that was her on CBS Mornings. But again, you can't escape the fact that all of these same people saying that we're not up to anything nefarious here with respect to covering the healthcare costs of people in this country legally have all said that that is their formal position over the last two presidential cycles. It's kind of an important point in terms of credibility. We do know a couple of other things, though, that there is this, and this is such a case study in government. Again, we went through this with C.S. Tucker, but let's do it again since we're in week 2. There's $350 billion in healthcare subsidies, $350 billion over 10 years in Obamacare subsidies. Where did these come from? Well, they came through the American Rescue Plan, the expansion of those eligible for Obamacare subsidies. Previously, it was people who earn less than 400% of the federal poverty level. The quote-unquote American Rescue Plan, or willing entitled, that was passed by Biden and those same Democrats in 2021, greatly expanded those subsidies. And so now, but they were intended to be temporary. The original legislation ended them in 2 years. That was 21. But then in 22, as part of the, again, absurdly named Inflation Reduction Act, Democrats extended them on till 2025, which brings us to the end of this year, 2025. And now the impasse here is Democrats want those committed to now, the $350 billion over 10 years to maintain this expanded subsidy eligibility. And Republicans want that clean CR that they keep talking about and say, we'll talk about the subsidies separately, which they'll probably cave on and do anyway. They just want to do it separately. And this is another case, in terms of, to paraphrase Milton Friedman, where nothing is so permanent as a temporary entitlement benefit. And so Republicans fearing a backlash if you remove a benefit that was conferred for the last 4 years to people who were never intended to get Obamacare subsidies, but now get them. If you remove that and then their health insurance premiums go up precipitously to subsidize the rest of those people that are getting subsidies, well, then they could face a political problem come the midterms. That's the dynamic on both scores, on both sides of it. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-author with Art Laffer. Steve, thank you for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you.
Anything you want to add to my distillation?
I don't know if I can improve on what you just said. I think you summarized it quite well. I said, look, but I think you may have buried the headline. Okay. I think the headline here that every American should understand and know is that Obamacare was a fraud.
Well, yes.
They knew it. And they remember. By the way, do you remember what the name of the bill was?
Do I remember what the what? Oh, the
Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act, of course. Yes, the Make America Great Again or something. I remember, yeah, something like that. Something very positive.
Affordable Care Act. So, how healthcare costs have tripled since we passed that bill.
Yes. Well, that's the old That's the old PGR work line, right? About single payer. If you think healthcare is expensive now, wait until it's free.
Until the government runs it.
Yeah, right.
And so, and by the way, this was their plan. These guys are so nefarious, and I got to admit, they're always one or two moves on the chessboard ahead of the Republicans. So they knew that back in 2010, they started with 20% of the population, 30, 40. Do you know under the current bill that Schumer shut the government down to get passed? You could make up to $500,000 and get government subsidies for health care. I mean, this stuff is lunatic.
It is.
If you're only making $400,000, you're poor. Let's face it, you can't afford it. So this stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
And, we ought to.
It's time those billionaires pay their fair share for people only making $490,000. Steve.
There you go. And so the other thing is, you're falsely accusing Democrats because look, that big increase in the Obamacare subsidies, that was for an emergency, Dan. Don't you understand that? That was emergency.
Yes.
Of course, COVID ended, 4 or 5 years ago? And they still want to. You can't make this stuff up, right, folks? And the bottom line is, this circles back to the big, beautiful bill. And, I strongly supported the tax cuts. I think it's done an enormously positive thing for the economy. But we didn't have many spending cuts in there. We really didn't. So we cut one out of the $80 trillion the federal government is going to spend over the next 10 years. We cut $1.5 trillion. So do the math there. That's about a 2% cut in overall government spending.
Draconian. People will
die.
I know.
2% out of the budget. So now Schumer is saying we cannot live with these 2% cuts. And that's why he shut down the government.
Yeah.
So we can restore those evil cuts. And that's the idiocy that's going on in Washington. And by the way, I'm supposed to fly out of Washington, D.C. today for a trip. And now a lot of the flights are being canceled because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. And it's just mayhem. And of course, that's exactly what Chucky Schumer wanted.
I don't want to live in a world where the federal government is spending 2% less than they did last year, Steve.
Exactly. Right. No, it's unbelievable. And another way, it's actually they have more. They'll spend 2%.
Steve, you're breaking up on us a little bit there. Don't move around. Your the tin foil thing isn't working. Yeah. You need your antenna.
Okay. I was saying you had it slightly wrong because you said, you don't want to live where we spend 2% less. No, it's actually 2% less than they want. So it's not like we're going to spend 2% less next year. It's
right.
2% off the 8% increase they want.
Yes, I don't want to live in that either world. And Trump said something.
Yeah, stop using their math. Stop using their math.
Yes. Like it even matters. I mean, it's like you try to have a conversation about the numbers and they don't even matter.
I shot a 68 yesterday. Of course, I'm not counting those 12 strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I pick and choose. Fun with numbers. Now, the one thing that Trump said that has probably some air traffic controllers and others nervous, he was asked about federal workers receiving back pay, which they're used to getting when it comes to these government shutdown theatrical productions. And he said, it depends on who we're talking about. Some don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. I don't know what it sounds like a mob boss. He said, he said Democrats have put people at great risk. So some may or may not get back pay. That's got to be, that in terms of the sort of entitled federal worker, that's got to be something they've never heard before.
Well, I mean, how many people in the private sector, if they get laid off, a paycheck? I mean, that's not the way it works in the government. And so it is basically a paid vacation for these, quote, non-essential workers. And that is so they love it. They love the shutdown. Federal employees, they live down the street from me. They're out playing tennis and golf today. Thank you, taxpayers. So the whole thing is a sham. We've done this 5 years, and this most of the time Republicans lose, but I think that Democrats are going to lose this time. Although I'm worried. I think Trump may cave in on the health care. I think he may do that. I think he's going to say, we can't be heartless. We have to give people who make $400,000 free health care.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we are in Washington today.
I mean, you can barely make ends meet on that. I mean, I don't want to get into this sort of income level envy business of the left, but I mean, it is just silly. Nobody has to pay for anything. That's just that's egregious.
And by the way, the one serious point here, though, is that since we passed Obamacare 15 years ago, the life expectancy in the United States has fallen. So we're not even getting better health care. We're getting worse health care and paying a lot more for it. That is a wonderful plan. Making things worse and paying more for it. That sounds like what government does with everything. Isn't it? Well, certainly in Illinois. I saw that the EU is trying to go tit for tat with Trump on tariffs. Nice piece of alliteration by me there. Brussels, the EU raising steel tariffs to match the U.S. rate of 50%. They want Trump back at the negotiating table. I thought Ursula and Donald were getting along so famously when she was in town. Apparently not. Well, this is the tariff wars that are going on, and it has caused a lot of turmoil. I think in the end of the day, these countries are going to cave into Trump's demands, but it hasn't been easy. And look, I think most of what Trump has done have been absolutely fantastic for the economy, but it's clear that the tariffs have taken the economy has taken a hit from the tariffs. There's no doubt about it. We would be growing a lot faster had it not been for the tariffs. And Trump gets mad at me for not being a big fan of his tariffs, but we'll see how this turns out. Canada, I don't know. You think Canada's gonna cooperate? I don't know. He threatened to merge Canada to the U.S. again with McCartney in the White House yesterday. So he's still trolling them to their face, though, which I appreciate. He's threatening to force them to speak English. To make English the official language of Canada. We can't get it done here. Maybe we could get it done up north. Okay. It is funny because it's funny, but it's also serious that every time he tries to make a deal with Canada, he says, and by the way, why don't you become the 51st state? Yeah. That's just like poking a finger right in their nose. So that doesn't help. Well, he recognizes something that Earl Long said famously about politics, Stephen Moore, which is people don't want good government, they want good entertainment. So at least we have that. True. Well, he's good at that. Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thanks as always. Okay, Dan, have a great day. Take care. See you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Many of you have been asking about Freedom Summit, our annual extravaganza, and tickets are on sale. Tickets are now on sale for Freedom Summit 2025. That is happening Saturday, November 8th at the Westin Northwest in Itasca, where we've had it the last several years. This year, Freedom Summit will be headlined by Dr. Gifted Hands himself, Dr. Ben Carson. He's a good dude. He's fun. Former Secretary